welcome to On the Record with me, Shereen Bhan. My guests today have a 30-year legacy in the real estate business. They delivered India's first real estate trust, and they've also delivered 75 million square feet. Joining me now to talk about the real estate sector's trends, but more importantly, what's ahead for the Embassy Group, Jitu and Aditya Virwani. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Let me start by taking you back. It's a 30-year legacy, as I pointed out, for you. A lot has changed in India's real estate sector. Plenty bad, but some good as well. The last few years have been good for the real estate industry. How would you sum up the journey so far?
So when I started on this journey and I joined my father, there was a whole sense of people who were making these smaller buildings, smaller offices, doing construction really the crude way. There was nothing comparable to what it is today, because today the industry is as international as anywhere else in the world, you could see. We had all these Gujarati contractors all over the place. People always were looking, all developers always thinking of how to build an extra floor. And, this over the time just transformed into these large business parks and, large developments in one location. And I think it's just the evolvement of maybe the newer generation stepping in. Wanting to do things differently, and I see I'm in the middle region where now I have kids in the same business, and I can see that they want to do things more differently than I did. And I would see the journey. The office space was, my father built office space with 500 square feet office space. The toilet inside was just for the owner of the office. Yeah, and people strolled down the corridor to use the common toilets. And now all of a sudden we have these large business parks with huge floor plates, and concept of single office hasn't gone. And I think that's given the birth of flexi office a great opportunity. So I think it's just the people, the newer generation coming in, and India's fast adaptability to international standards, and to a lot. I think there's a lot of these for companies coming in, the GCC companies, the internet companies coming in. I think technology companies, that's actually changed the outlook, how Indian developers started looking at his product. And a lot of design elements started coming in. Otherwise, there was no design. I still remember in 1996, I appointed a lighting consultant, and my father told me I was crazy to spend so much money. Because all of them built nice buildings, but nobody lit them up correctly. Yeah. And that was a big thing. So you learn traveling abroad, you see things, and you want to implement it. And now I'm the victim of the same that my dad was.
They're telling you what to do now. It is.
But yeah, so the whole cultural thing was, to make this one building, look at the laws, try to exploit everything from one development, which I think is, taken a backseat. And I would honestly, not because I'm in this business, but I would say that all my colleagues in the business and generally the business in India, we are as comparable as any international developer anywhere in the world.
Well, he talked about the next generation. So let me come to you, Aditya. It's been about 9 years for you at the Embassy Group as well. Yep. As you look at the road ahead, the legacy that you take forward as well, and the opportunities that you are looking at, how different is the landscape today from what he inherited?
Yeah, look, 9 years has flown by, and even in those 9 years, I've seen a transformation of what Indian real estate was then and what it is now. And I think the big theme is the institutionalization of the asset class. Moving from these small offices that were strata sold, financed off plan, to now very institutional, large ticket. We did the first REIT, these large assets that are owned by huge institutions or REIT type of a trust. I think the whole financing of the asset class has changed. I think the whole design aspect of the asset class has changed. And I only think it's going to keep evolving, and you're going to see that strata grade B office actually slowly die a slow death. And that's the way forward actually for this asset class.
When we talk about the way forward, and you've set some pretty aggressive targets in terms of what you believe you're going to be able to deliver. As I pointed out, you've already delivered 75 million square feet. What's the expectation, given the fact that everybody believes that this is going to be India's moment as far as manufacturing is concerned? This is going to be India's moment as far as GCCs are concerned. Real estate has been seeing an upswing with regulatory changes like RERA, etc. coming in. I mean, what are we really talking about in terms of penetration, in terms of untapped potential?
I think that I mean, there are big industry stalwarts in this, but I don't think anybody has a clue that what we're in for, because urbanization, is actually right now at a much slower pace than it should happen. And as that happens, and I think, for the younger generation, it's a huge opportunity where it just is going to explode multiples than what it has already happened. People are always looking at the luxury market, but it's the mid segment, which has got such a big gap till today. And I think...
But do you believe that supply in that mid-segment is now going to come on stream? Because, I go back to a conversation that I was having with Keki Mistry just the other day, and he said, look, that's the untapped opportunity. But is that an opportunity that's viable? Is that an opportunity that you're, for instance, looking at from a future
We think it's quite viable because, luxury apart market is X. I mean, it can be Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, but there's a certain amount of luxury flats or apartments you can sell. But because we all come from affluent families, we feel that we travel around internationally and we feel we need to build luxury apartments. And
but has
because
taken
the
you by
comfort.
surprise just the way that the luxury housing market has taken off? I mean, like we were just talking about what's happening in Delhi, for instance. I mean, flying off the shelf. Now, whether that is speculator or it is actually end use is a different story altogether. But has what we've seen in the luxury market surprised you?
I think still there's more to come. Look at the size of the scale of our economy and the people. I mean, let's look at the percentage of rich. It may be a very small percentage, but, I was at a conference of Anurag and somebody from Morgan Stanley was giving a talk where I said that, there are like 5 million super rich in India.
Yeah.
And then the next level is a 20 million bracket, 50 million bracket, out of which 20 million will move into the super rich bracket. So now we're talking about, if we go by Morgan Stanley statistics, if the 5 million are causing so much of turmoil in the luxury market or expectation, all these stories, can you imagine when these 20 million move into that sector, what would happen? So I think India is still a lot to be seen luxury. I mean, compare China and, we are there. So even if we are lagging behind China, even if you look China 15, 20 years back, it was far different from what India is. I mean, look at the luxury market over here, there's not much happening. So I think personally, I feel there is a lot to come. But, as a company, we would look at a level luxury to a certain extent. But the next level is where, we think the business is.
I think China is a great example because this is where India is, 20 years ago. And today, China built tens of millions of houses every year. We build 5 lakh houses, new houses. So there's a massive shortage of housing. There are 32 million people moving into cities every year. And yes, luxury has taken up a big part of the volume. You really break it up into affordable, mid-segment, luxury. This is a typical breakup. And a lot of that 30 million is falling in that affordable segment that doesn't really get addressed.
Yeah.
Luxury, although it hits the headlines with these big numbers, it's such a small fraction of the potential of this country. But I think that mid-segment, where the typical IT workforce is in.
In pricing terms, what would qualify as the mid-segment today?
I think different cities would have a different term, but for Bangalore, I'd say that 1 to 3. Today, that 3 might be 4 to 5, even pushing 5.
We're talking about crores, just for the benefit of everybody who's watching. Yes.
5 crores. So 1 to 3 crores is really that sweet spot where, look, wage growth is keeping up with that. And if you look at housing growth, yes, in the last 3 years, it's kind of higher than where wages were. But if you look at a 15-year average, I feel it's actually underperformed. You've seen costs go up. You've seen land go up. You've seen land costs go up because infrastructure hasn't been able to keep up.
Yeah.
So you're not able to go out really far and buy cheap land. And that's also partly why you can't cater to this affordable segment is your raw material cost. Your cost to build can only be that tight. Then you compromise on delivery. But the land is really where it struggles to hit then that affordable. And I guess why most developers are focused on the luxury side. We actually see a big opportunity on luxury. We've done that as a brand, but also now on this premium, everything below. Actually, we just launched something 60 lakhs onwards, sold out 80%. We see opportunity play across from 60 lakhs all the way to that uber luxury 50, 100 crore ticket size.
Well, so if that's going to be the play for you, what you see as the impediments, land costs you talked about as being perhaps the biggest one.
Yeah.
But what do you see as some of the other big impediments that get in the way of being able to address this untapped market?
So I think a lot has to do with regulation. I think, sometimes in our country, we need to have a committee to see that which regulations work and which don't work. So I think regulation is the big thing. And I think the government is working quite at a fast pace extensively and correcting things and learning things from what has happened and setting in some best practices. And infrastructure, I mean, as you can see, Mr. Gadkari is building roads all over the place. I think this has to happen in all the states. Unfortunately, if after independence, all we had done is build roads, we would be far more prosperous than we were there then. So I think that recognition is coming now about roads, traffic. People are getting bored of all this conversation, which is happening, When we walked in, that's first 5 minutes, we had a conversation on traffic.
Weather and traffic. Yes.
So I think that all this is accumulated. And then, like I earlier said, because there is still the luxury segment also has a gap, people in their comfort zone prefer not to risk themselves and remain in the luxury market so that, they have that margin. They don't lose out because, like Aditya mentioned, the cost of construction is pretty much similar. If you take the difference between luxury and the regular, it's like maybe 20% upside, not maximum, more than that. And that's why people are just sitting in this comfort zone. And because, again, the demand and supply to be met is still controlled.
Yeah.
When it explodes, then, let's say somebody like me say that, where's a, I don't have a place in the luxury market.
Yeah.
It's occupied by XY developers. Let me focus on another region which I can capture that market. So this will happen over time as business gets matured.
Well, speaking of maturing of businesses as well as new developments, a development that took place early this year in January of 2025 was the merger with the erstwhile India Bulls. For you now, take me through what the rationale was behind that decision, and more importantly, what that sets you up for in terms of future growth. Aditya, I'll start with you.
Yeah, maybe why the merger is a big thesis that drove, and say from my point of view, it's an access to a large vehicle with the potential to do a lot. It's our development company. It's our flagship development company. Everything that we want to do will be done in this company. It complements our structure. We have a REIT. It's very simple. Ready assets go into that structure. Development company, housing, office, future asset classes in Embassy Developments, which was the erstwhile India Bulls. And we have WeWork, and we actually have a few different companies being incubated that will have its own growth story. But what it does, it gives us access to a large public company with paid up land bank, pan-India presence, a team. We inherited 500 people, all of them who have been in these projects from the very beginning, who know Mumbai, who know NCR. These are deep markets for us as Embassy to penetrate in. And we feel the opportunity is there. The macros all line up. We feel the brand is so powerful. We feel that the halo of Embassy is immense. And what we can do now with this vehicle, the team, the assets that we have, the execution capability, I feel, sky's the limit. If you look, we're playing catch up. We just announced a 5,000 crore guidance. It's not ambitious at all. It's very
conservative, really.
It's very conservative. It's where some of these big guys were in 21. We're going to start that journey now. And I feel we can catch up very soon. We want to be a brand selling 20, 30,000 crores, and we can. We also want to continue doing what we've done on office. We build these large-scale institutional REITable assets. We want to continue doing that. It's not a resi play. It's a commercial and resi play. Focus on our key markets, Bangalore, Mumbai to start. We'll see where we go next. We have a few assets in other cities. And yeah, the potential is, ginormous. We have a big financial year. We've announced a 22,000 crore GDV, 18.5 resi, rest is commercial, and we're going to see how we can play this cyclical asset class, hedge our bets, both office and residential.
I want to bring up the numbers for everybody's benefit, because you've seen quite a significant turnaround as far as FY25 is concerned. PAT of about 203 crore rupees versus a 485 crore rupee loss year on year. And revenue is up 100% to 2,547 crores. So, what kind of aided the turnaround for you, and what should we now expect in terms of the run rate from here on?
Shereen, it's not really anything special or secret that's happened. It's actually what we've been doing at Embassy the last 4 years, we've been quiet. We've kept a low profile intentionally. We had a lot of stuff to clean up. We did clean it up. We paid down 5,000 crores of debt over the last 4.5 years. And it's actually the balance sheet of Embassy that's basically come into this company that's made these numbers look really high. But we've been making small, deliberate steps, these slow compounding to get ourselves here. And this 22,000 crores of GDV is actually lands that we've been working on for the last few years, getting it to this stage. Approvals are not easy.
Yeah.
Some of them are agriculture. You have to convert it. It doesn't, happen overnight. So actually what's happening now is accumulation of all the hard work that's happened these last 3.5 years, tough last 3.5 years to get us to this place. We feel we're sitting on the launch pad. We feel that, that blue skies ahead and we can do so many things with this company and all locked in land. So it's quite exciting of, the future of Embassy Developments.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the future because, you spoke about the 3.5 years of pain that you've had to go through in order for you to be able to get where you are. So what is the expectation now in terms of new launches? You talked about the guidance that you've held out, but slightly longer term, land monetization, etc. What's the plan from here on, given the many opportunities that you've already spoken of?
Well, like Aditya mentioned, we've been working for 3.5, 4 years, and sometimes I feel, being a positive person, that this delay in the merger was actually very beneficial for us. For whatever reason, the merger got delayed. It gave us time to recollect, get all these projects going through. And, for us, I think, like they say, this old saying, there's no pain, no gain. And, today we will value everything what we've got. And I think it also made the company very resilient.
Yeah,
to face whatever it is. I mean, I think in my opinion, as a father for me, for Aditya, being my son, to get that experience and to make him stronger. So there are a lot of tangible gains we got, which money can't buy.
Yeah.
And I think that will pay very long.
For everything else, there's MasterCard or the Embassy banner shaded.
So now, going ahead, I mean, I built this all the time. I'm 59 today. But it took me a while to do all this. But then these boys, they're in their early 30s. So they have a big run ahead of them. And we felt that, among all the real estate companies, we are a very strong second gen in the business, which is very important because this is a business which professional people to take risk at the level or
you need to have skin in the game. You need to have skin in the game
plus a calculated risk. So a lot of time, because Embassy keeps doing new things, people think we are very aggressive, but if you actually, somebody looks properly into the whole math, what we do, it's always a calculated downside move, whether it was WeWork or whether the REIT was there, whether our tie-up with Blackstone was there. Everything had a math which secured everything and kept us stronger as a foundation, which didn't get disturbed with COVID coming in, all of this happening, and we could hold on to all our businesses and make a strong foundation now to launch ahead. So for us, the next few years, 10, 20, 25 years, is no looking back.
Yeah, well, clearly there's no looking back. There's only looking forward. But, you talked about WeWork, and let's address that as well, because Karan is on the WeWork roadshow at this point in time. And that's another story. I mean, it requires a whole other show on what actually happened with WeWork globally. But in India, you've managed to not just keep it going, but you're now heading to Dalal Street or hoping to go to Dalal Street with WeWork.
Yeah, hopefully. Shortly we're looking. We filed our DRHP, and can't say much about it. But yeah, you're right that. But so again, it's one of the businesses which, when we looked at it, it was complementary to our traditional business. So everything we do at Embassy is somehow connected to real estate. So we run I don't know if you're aware, we run an IB school, which actually has all the professionals who work in our IT parks, most of their kids working there.
Right.
So the whole concept was to build a school and run it the best way so the international people get good education and they would believe in the culture of Embassy. So when they have a choice to take office space, they would believe that they're dealing with a professional company. Yeah. Just like everything is cross, working for us. And WeWork was, traditionally... for our traditional business, it was like a tenant. I actually one time said it, which still hasn't happened, but I'm sure it'll happen, that I say one day my son will be my largest tenant, but right now they have like 20% of the business. It's from an embassy building, and I must thank a lot of colleagues in my industry who've been very nice to Karan and, have offered him space at really good terms and, encourage him a lot. So that's kind of help for being in the business and having good relationship. But it's an extension, and, co-working is the way forward going ahead.
It does deserve a show on its own, I have to say, because there's not too much we can say now, but it's very complementary. It's 27% of the office absorption is happening in the space. So it really makes sense for Embassy to have a position here. And I know it's clouded by WeWork Global and all the ups and downs that they've had. But the India story is really interesting. People should look out for what's happening with WeWork India and look out for your show with it very suited.
You talked about not wanting to take on debt unless you really have to. Land bank monetization, inorganic opportunities, what does the future hold at this point in time to fuel the kind of growth aspirations you have?
So right now we've got all these land banks, which all our plans are at approval stage. We're launching them. We have quite a few launches this year, next year. So it's basically to just get our own cash and, of course, reinvest back into property, buy land, mostly a back end. And I think there's a very good, because the market has become much more mature. It's a good opportunity where small money can buy you bigger opportunities and more structured when people know that you're strong enough and you'll deliver. And I think that's what our game is, to use our money and stretch our money to the maximum. And also monetize it. Chances of all these assets.
Yeah,
like I said, it's the money we probably need right now is only to get the approvals.
Yeah,
and after approvals, it's all cash accretive. So for us, just look at 31% cost of construction all through all our projects averagely, which means even if the market slows down, for us it's a big safety net. So we actually, like I said, between old school and new school, we look at it that we have our own cash.
Yeah,
and that can grow. I mean, we've done so well without our own cash. So I think with our own cash, probably we'll do much more,
Yeah. So let me end then by asking you, I'll come to the priorities for you, but the targets that you've set for yourself, for the business over the next few years.
Yeah, look, I put it in 3 different buckets. Our priority one is we have 3,000 crores of receivables that we just have to unlock. We have to put money in, hit our milestones, and basically collect money. So that's just staring at us right in our face. We have another 2,000 crores of unsold inventory. So just stock that we have to sell while the market's still good. We have another huge pipeline for 48,000 crores of GDV between office and resi that we can bring to the market, which if we're bringing 22,000 crores this financial year, and we'll stagger the rest. So kind of existing land bank is priority number 2. And priority number 3 is land banks that we still have. We have 3,000 crores, 3,000 acres of land in this company, and new deals. We just signed something in Whitefield, Bangalore a week ago, and we're excited about it. We want to do more. This is, again, pipeline that's going to be built in FY27, 28, 29. We're very cognizant of how the market is reacting to it. Like I said, we want to play cyclical game where it's not just a residential platform. This is residential and office, but we're laser focused on it, micromanage this. I think over the last few years, my expertise has really shined from being a micromanager. I'm detail oriented.
It's very easy oriented.
You've gone through, a period where you have to be a micromanager, and coming out of it, I think that's really going to be our big advantage going forward.
Sometimes when we're on the plane and he asks me a question, Dad, who looked into this last 30 years? And I want to look at the window and jump out, or nobody looked into it.
Clearly, that's the big difference between the old school and the new school, right?
Yes. So that's why, I'm quite comfortable, it's the business in his hand, and he's quite structured and very, predictable. Like he mentioned before we started our conversation, that he likes routine, to do everything on time. But I'm still a bit of a maverick even now. And obviously, people don't change.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jitu and Aditya.
Thank you, Shereen.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to hearing more from you as you build out on some of these plans that you have shared with us on the record. With that, it is time for us to take a break here, but there's a lot more that will continue on CNBC TV 18. We'll take a break, and we're back in a minute with more.